The last tool we're going to have a look at is the Mark Foreground and Background tool, which is this one here. Now this works a little bit like the Remove Background tool in PowerPoint, if you know that. First of all, we select the area that we're going to apply it to, like so, and it gives us this blue mask here. Now if we're working on something in blue, obviously this isn't going to be helpful, so we could select a green mask instead, but we're going to use blue. Now if I now use Mark Foreground here and paint a broad stripe just across the colours that I want, you can see that it finds most of the shape, but it's also got some of the shadow. So I can then paint across, mark background on the shadow, and you can see it selects nearly everything that I want, just like that. So what we can then do is obviously press the enter key, and there is our selection. So it's a really nice way to quickly get the selection you want. It isn't perfect, it works best where there's higher areas of contrast, but you can give it a go. In order to make these things better for all of these tools, you can use this feather edges option, and I'm going to take this down a bit and show you what actually that does. So if I select feather edges on, for example, let's just use the normal square one, and I select a square like this, it will feather the edges of this square so that if I paint solid colour into it, for example, let's paint some solid black, you can see that the mask doesn't apply as strongly at the edges, it sort of fades out. Now if I do that again with another selection like that, oh sorry, I meant to take the radius down, so like that, and I'm going to draw the selection again, then you'll see the effect this has when I paint over that again. Now when we zoom out and deselect it, you can see it gives a sort of nicer edge. It can look smoother in some circumstances. So I'm going to remove those, and I'm actually going to go back to our original tool again, and I'm going to use the foreground selection tool, and this time we're feathering edges, and I'm going to feather the edges just a little bit, and we're going to go right the way down to maybe 3 or so, 2.5. No, that'll do. So I once again select around my target like so. I use my Mark Foreground to paint a strip across the middle, and then mark background to get that out of the way, and that's background as well, that's background as well, and there's a bit of background up here. Now that might not look as if I've done anything much different, but now that the selection is in place, when I move that, so I'm going to do select and float and then move it, what we should notice is that actually when I place it over another object and remove the selection, the edges are just that little bit fuzzier, which makes it look a little bit cleaner. So that's the main selection tools. There's just one last thing I'm going to show you, which is if you ever want to edit the selection. So for example, I've got a select with a square here. Let's add an ellipse to it. So press the shift key, and then I'm going to take away a bit of free select using the control key like that. And why not, let's also take away a bit of magic brush like so. And so now I've got quite a complex selection. Now in the select menu, you can toggle the quick mask, and this, very much like the foreground tool that we were just looking at, shows you what is actually selected. And you can paint onto the quick mask. I'm going to lower the size of my brush quite a lot. Let's get that down there like that. And I can, for example, paint into the quick mask. Now I can use all my brush shapes here. So for example, I can use a star brush shape like that. And when I take off the quick mask, you can see it's actually updated the selection. So you've got some really neat tools for selecting whatever you want. Have a go with them, and this is the real basics of being able to use GIMP or any other photo editing program with real skill. I hope you enjoyed it. Next time we'll have a look at layers.